Okay, I think I've collected myself enough after last week, and let me tell you, that was an insane time to be a Sonic fan. The second Sonic movie is, man, and plenty of times I have called Sonic Mania a love letter to Sonic, and it is still. But if there was ever another shining example of such, it would definitely be in this movie. It's everything that I as a fan could ever have wished for, with extra goodies stacked on top. I already had high expectations for this movie, but it not only met those expectations, it went so high up above them that you could probably see the death egg. Bro, this movie was incredible. Jeff Fowler, thank you. Paramount, thank you. Sega, thank you. Everyone who gave it this amazing movie, thank you. You deserve nothing but the best, and I wish you all the luck in the world with the third movie, because I think it's safe to say we're all ready for it. Although, that's a ways off because next in line is the Knuckles spin-off that'll be hitting Paramount Plus next year. Anyway, I had so many thoughts to give about the second Sonic movie that I couldn't possibly fit it all into one video. Well, actually I could, but then in all likelihood, it would be well over 2 hours long. And who sits down to watch a 2-hour video on YouTube unless it's a movie that they like? Almost no one, I think. So I was like, we're gonna have to go about this a different way. And that's when I came up with the idea to divide my review into multiple episodes, starting with this one. And so, here we are. The first episode of my long-winded review series of the Sonic movie sequel. I think this should be easier on everyone, so that I'll be able to get out videos much more often, and so you guys be able to follow along at your pace that you prefer. I think that should work out for everybody, right? That said, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, there will be spoilers in the videos ahead. I'll keep them off the thumbnail and the title, but in the video itself, we're gonna be diving into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm gonna give you until the end of this next clip to back out while you still can. If you still keep watching, then I can't take any responsibility if you do get spoiled about the movie. So, don't say I didn't warn you. Before we go full speed ahead on this review series, I need to point out that the second Sonic movie is still available only in theaters for the time being. This will frustrate me because I'm very much a sucker for attention to detail when it comes to my videos, but for this review series, the best I'm going to be able to do is use either background gameplay or trailer footage. Well, I could use clips and recordings made in theaters, but it just wouldn't feel authentic to do it that way. Plus, I'm risking DMCA takedowns if I go that route, as they've already begun taking down videos of the movie being recorded in theaters, so I don't want to run that risk. I think it's for the better ultimately, because I prefer to leave people with some incentive to see the movie for themselves still, whether they've only seen it once or multiple times. In my case, I've seen it twice, fittingly, and I'm looking to add to that count. Now, it may seem a little weird to start a review right at the end of the movie, when it should be the other way around. But there is a reason I've chosen to make the post-credits scene my first episode for this review series. It assures the continuity of the Sonic movie universe, and welcomes back a fan favorite that for all intents and purposes has been absent for years. And I say all intents and purposes because he hasn't actually been absent, but he just hasn't felt like the same character since he was first introduced. Kinda like Knuckles actually. But Knuckles was shown extreme love and care in this movie, and he's been given a return to his glory days. I think we can confidently expect a similar outcome with the character that was revealed in the post-credit scene. And that character is none other than the ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog. Bro, I tell you, nothing could have possibly prepared me for what would be the biggest surprise that night. It's at times like this that I wish I had recorded my reaction, but it's probably for the better that I didn't because it might have scared you a little to see how crazy I was that night. Actually, I think I was drowned out only by one other guy, and that took quite a lot. But how exactly did the shadow reveal come about? Well, let's go over the post-credit scene in its entirety, shall we? After the credits roll, we see Gun, or Guardian Units of Nations, investigating the site of the final battle between Sonic and Eggman over at Green Hills. During the investigation, we see the commander entering conversation with one of his agents, and we also notice that Agent Stone has gone undercover amongst Gun's ranks. This will likely play a pivotal role in the third movie, but we're going to circle back to him later. We also see the commander and the agent bring up something of great interest to us. Something about a file hidden away in Gun's database while they were cleaning out Robotnik's information. The second the words 50 years were mentioned, we all knew what was coming, but we still weren't ready for it. And then, the scene switches over to some sort of hidden location where we see a capsule rising out of the ground. And eventually, Project Shadow comes into full view, and that was when the world basically exploded. God, I wish I could go back and relive the first time I saw that. I'm so glad that I wasn't spoiled before that scene happened. Now, for anybody who's played Sonic Adventure 2 religiously, I can already guess the next question that they're asking. Just how faithful will Paramount be to Shadow's origin story in Sonic Movie 3? Well, looking back at the post-credit scene, I can already see a hint that they will be super faithful, and here's why. The agent mentioned a secret research facility among her discoveries in her conversation with her commander. And in the Sonic universe, I can already name to you one location that fits that description. You might remember it. The Space Colony Ark, which is described on the Sonic Wiki as a top secret research facility where weapons of mass destruction were being created. Among those weapons is the Eclipse Cannon, which has the power to lay waste to entire planets as long as it is supplied with the energy of the Chaos Emerald. This becomes integral to the plotline for Sonic Adventure 2, as does the expansion on the Robotnik lineage, as the game also introduces Gerald Robotnik and Maria! I had to give Maria a proper introduction, come on now. In a way, I guess my previous predictions about us getting a Sonic Adventure movie were only half right. There were signs of it all throughout the second movie, and now it's basically been confirmed that the third movie is going to be heavily inspired by Sonic Adventure 2. And I cannot find the words to describe how much I'm excited by the very idea. This is just absolutely incredible. It's something I sort of saw coming, considering that the Sonic Cinematic Universe was based on our world to begin with, so it allows Sonic and his friends the opportunity to interact with the human world, and it definitely opened the floodgates for the adventure storylines to take hold. It kind of sucked with skipping over Adventure 1, but seeing it going straight to Adventure 2, I can totally accept this. It's also important to note that Jeff Fowler recently explained that the Sonic movies will not follow the games chronologically in the future. For example, Sonic 3 is going to be based on Sonic 3 and Knuckles. We should have already seen signs of that, considering Knuckles was introduced early in Sonic 2, and he's even getting a spin-off series all to himself. So to anybody expecting the third movie to be anything like Sonic 3, you may want to rethink your predictions, considering the kind of storyline that we're going for this time. And I also bring this up because, although we technically skipped over Adventure 1, that is not to say that it won't actually be revisited in a future film. Let's take a moment to stop and think about something here. Something very important. From watching the movies, we can see that liberties have been taken with the origin stories for Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. This explains the introduction of Longclaw and her tribe's grudge with the Echidna tribe over the Master Emerald. And don't worry, we'll dive deeper into those elements in other episodes. As such, you should probably expect similar measures to be taken for Shadow's story, and you should also think about the possibility that some elements of his original story could be completely disregarded when he's introduced in the third movie. This could mean that the Space Colony Ark, Maria, or Gerald, maybe all three, could be excluded, although personally I can't see Shadow working without any of those three. In recent years, he's been depicted as little more than a rival to Sonic, when in reality, he's always been so much more than that. Unfortunately, after the shock value of his original story had long since dried up, Sega was like, okay, what do we do with him exactly? I guess just make him a rival to Sonic or something? Except, we already had another character playing that role. You know, Metal Sonic, the robotic counterpart to the original Sonic. Now, I had no issue with that being a part of Shadow's description as well, but I venture a guess that the reason he has such a huge fan base in the first place isn't just because he is a rival to Sonic. He's always been so much more than that. Since its introduction in Sonic Adventure 2, it served as a coming of age of sorts. It taught fans like myself that people making good decisions or bad decisions aren't always doing so just for the sake of being good or bad. In Shadow's case, you see him having quite a grudge with humans, but when you look at his story, you start to understand why, and suddenly you're like, wait a minute, a villain making bad decisions for reasons that we completely understand? What is this? Sonic Adventure 2 definitely busted open a myth that a guy's either 100% good or 100% bad. There's no in between. But in reality, there's a lot of gray in between the black and white. Here was a character who very much equaled Sonic in terms of looks and capabilities, but on the inside, they couldn't be any more different than if you were to compare apples and oranges. The added complexity of Shadow's character made him such an endearing choice to his fans, and so it shouldn't come as a surprise to you that Sega reversed their original decision to kill him off in Sonic Adventure 2, instead bringing him back in Sonic Heroes, as a response to the many fans that had come to love Shadow. Only, I think they brought him back as a clone of the original rather than the original himself, unless that was actually addressed in the comics at some point, but if it was, I'm not entirely aware. Either way, Shadow has since become a recurring element in the franchise, for better or for worse, judging by how his character changed over the years. Right now, it remains to be seen if Paramount will fall back to the roots of Shadow's backstory when introducing him, or if they will completely reinvent the character. I certainly hope it's the first option, and I'm not alone there. But one thing I'd like to point out is that Sega has a kind of mandate in place for when the Sonic comics are being written. It wouldn't surprise me if similar rules were established for, say, the storylines being written up for games like Sonic Frontiers and such. And with probably similar rules at play for the movie also. But the movies are being developed by Paramount, not Sega, although they do have oversight from Sega because Sonic is their IP, so they're both as much involved as you can expect them to be. That said, Paramount may follow a completely different set of rules when it comes to mandates, so this won't necessarily confirm anything, but it also won't rule anything out. I'm not exactly an expert when it comes to what kind of rules companies follow these days, so don't rely on me for that kind of information. Now, the burning question. How exactly will Paramount introduce Shadow in Sonic Movie 3? At the moment, we can only make guesses, but here is my best possible guess that I can come up with. Referring back to the post-credits scene, we see that Agent Stone has gone undercover as a gun agent, which I pointed out earlier. He's actively listening in on the conversation between the gun agent and her commander. Odds are, he's going to pick up on what information he can from the both of them and use it to turn Shadow loose on the world, all while looking to reunite with his master, Dr. Eggman, who's been confirmed missing at the crash site of the Death Egg robot in Green Hills. Some have even speculated that Eggman actually died following his conflict with Super Sonic, although I find that to be unlikely, because you know how I said earlier that Shadow just doesn't work without Maria, Gerald, and the Ark? Sonic and Eggman are but two constants of the Sonic series. You kill off one of them, and the whole thing falls apart. Besides, Eggman may not be the most adept in the world when it comes to killing a blue hedgehog that can run at supersonic speeds, but one thing he is good at doing is being persistent. I mean, he once fooled us pretty good into thinking he had died during Sonic Lost World, and then boom, he came right back. So nah, he's not going anywhere. He's gonna play a role in the third movie somehow, we just don't know in what way exactly. With Agent Stone, at least we somewhat have an idea of what he'll do, cause earlier seen in the second movie definitely speak volumes to his undying loyalty towards the Mad Doctor. If Eggman stays absent for longer than expected, then I could see a new big bad in the duo of Agent Stone and Shadow. And yeah, I know, Shadow isn't exactly a villain, but that's probably the way things are going to go, for a time anyway. It's also worth noting that the Commander had quite a reaction to the discovery of Project Shadow. Earlier in the movie, it's implied that Gunn was never formed until after the first incident with Eggman in the first movie. However, in the games, Gunn is said to have existed as far back as 50 years ago when Project Shadow was first started. We're looking at traces of a retcon here already, where Gunn may not have existed at the time of Shadow's creation in the movie universe, but the commander was more than likely around for when those events happened. If I'm right, then we could also be looking at the return of Gunn's commander from Shadow's very own game based entirely on him, Shadow the Hedgehog. This is quite a stretch, I know, but if Paramount is indeed pulling from one of the lesser successful titles in the Sonic series when it comes to Shadow's backstory, it may put to rest whatever fears I have of any mandate Sega may have put on Paramount. Actually, if such things had been in effect, the second movie might have turned out very differently. So now the more likely story to me is Sega is letting Paramount have the reins for the making of the movies, provided they get to have some oversight on their development. Oh wait, there's this also. If I remember right, Jeff Fowler was among the team that helped develop the opening cutscene for Shadow the Hedgehog, and now here he is directing the live-action Sonic movies for Paramount. If that is not ironic, I don't know what is. So, assuming he's called back to direct the third Sonic movie, and I don't see why he wouldn't be, considering he did a phenomenal job with the first two already, it would be like bringing another of his dreams to life. I have to wonder how he must be feeling about that right now. That said, let's not go too far as to consider the Black Arm storyline being integrated into the movies. I do not think that is necessary whatsoever. And I want to throw another piece of speculation into the mix real quick. The Space Colony arc currently has a hybrid design as both a warship in space and a secret research facility, making it a distant sibling to the Death Egg. Knowing this, will Paramount retain that hybrid design, or will they choose to give up one side of it in favor of the other? In other words, will the arc be reimagined as 100% a secret research facility or 100% a warship in space? It's a question we certainly won't have the answers to for a long time, but it merits some consideration, don't you think? But yeah, something tells me that the Gunn commander knows something about Project Shadow that the rest of Gunn, let alone the government, is not aware of. After all, when it comes to keeping something like Shadow secret from the world, if you have to share that knowledge with someone, you want to keep the number of people in the know as limited as possible, because if word gets out, things tend to happen. And knowing this, it might explain why Gunn felt compelled to capture Sonic and Tails, or at least the commander felt compelled to capture Sonic and Tails, over at Hawaii after they escaped there after their little setbacks over Siberia, when Eggman got the compass for the Master Emerald off their hands. It would also explain why the commander wanted a glimpse of Sonic after the events of the first movie, but obviously they never pulled the trigger on that because the movie had run for long enough and it needed to end. It was a storyline that would be explored another time. Another theory I have in mind that I want to share, and I know this one may sound far-fetched, but hear me out please. When the commander became fully aware of Sonic's capabilities, it might have caused unpleasant memories of Project Shadow to resurface, and it might have also made him worry that the project has somehow leaked out into the wild, meaning that either Shadow is being recreated, or other parties are out there conducting experiments similar to what was done with Shadow. He may have thought that Sonic was engineered as a tool to bring about the end of mankind, though obviously as we know, that is not the case, but it might have been the commander's line of thinking up until he was convinced of Eggman's return out at Hawaii. This may drive him to take action in the third movie that will push him to the forefront as a major plot point, much more so in comparison to the first two films. At least, I can only guess whether or not this will be the case, but this may be something that merits consideration. So many theories are being shared over the post-credit scene for Sonic Movie 2, and of course this is just me throwing my own into the mix. So, this is where I want to ask you guys, what do you think about my theories regarding how Shadow will be handled in the third movie? Do you think they hold water? Or do you have different theories in mind that might sound more credible? Let me know what they are in the comments down below. And with that, I think that wraps up my post-credit scene analysis for the Sonic movie sequel. But stick around, we still have more to talk about regarding the movie, so much more. So keep an eye out for my second episode. Until then, thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed what you saw, drop your likes and comments down below and consider subbing and ringing that bell to stay up to date. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Until then, peace! Blue blurs for life. Take care.